Most people know the importance of investing and they want to start, but they often freeze up at the first decision. Which brokerage should I go with? What ETF should I buy? How much should I buy? How often should I invest? And in 2026, the market just got noisier. We have the US Iran war, we have Trump doing all sorts of things, and we have the market that is going up higher and higher, and the fear of the AI bubble is coming back. And it gets even harder to push the button. And so today, I am going to walk you through exactly how I would build my first investment portfolio if I was starting all over again in 2026. And if you are just starting out to invest, this will be very useful for you. So be sure to watch till the end of the video. So let's get started. Before you buy a single stock or before you even get started on your investment journey, there are three main things that must be in place. The first one is you have to clear your debt, especially your high interest debt. So this is a non-negotiable. Okay. For example, credit card debt. Annually, a credit card debt is more than 20%, and it will just eat to any return that the market will give you. If you don't have this clear, you have to get it before you even start investing. So that's the first one. The second one is you must have your emergency fund ready for any worst case scenario. Okay. And the recommended amount is roughly 2 to 6 months, depending on your where you are in life. For example, if you have a family, if you have kids, you might want to set a higher buffer, probably 12 months. But if you are single, you're still young, probably 3 to 6 months. And the third one is to figure out once you have catered off your expenses, as well as the money that you have set aside for your entertainment, so on and so forth for every month, figure out a monthly investing budget that you can set aside diligently every single month for the next 10 years. Now, for the monthly budget, the number don't really matter. It can be $200, $500, or $1,000, depending on your income and how much you can save. What matters is you can keep showing up every month, setting aside that amount and invest into that stock market. Because the moment where it starts to hurt your daily life and you realize you cannot sustain that amount that you plan to invest, that's where you might quit at the worst possible time. So once I've gotten all my foundations set aside, the three things that you saw earlier, it's time to get your feet wet and begin investing. So how I will go about doing it, crafting my portfolio, is I will do this core satellite framework. Okay, so what is the difference between core and satellite? So core refers to the foundation, right? Broad market ETFs that will compound quietly forever for the long term in the next 20, 30 years. And this should be at the start 70 to 90% of your portfolio. And the next one is what I call the satellite, which ranges from 10 to 30%. Now, this is optional at the start and it involves individual stocks or thematic plays once your core is in place. Now, if you are a new beginner, if you are just starting out to invest, focus your attention on building the core first. Don't focus on building that 10 to 30% of your satellite until your core is set up and running smoothly for at least a year. Because the biggest mistake that I've seen people who are new to investing make is jumping straight into picking individual stocks because it feels exciting, right? It's like you're going to a shopping mall and selecting what you like. And then they wonder why their portfolio underperformed a broad market ETFs over the past 5 years. And don't forget, picking individual stocks often has its risk because if it goes down, it is inherently more volatile and it might affect your confidence, especially if you are new to investing. Now, specifically for Singaporean investor, the smartest place to start, because there are many ETFs around the world, is going for Ireland domicile ETFs. And it's for two main reasons and both involve tax. Now, the first one is what I call dividend withholding tax, because if you buy a US domicile ETF like VOO, SPY, or IVV, we have a dividend withholding tax of 30%. Okay, and if we look at Ireland domicile ETFs like CSPX, VUAA, or VWRA, the dividend withholding tax is 50% lesser at 15%. Okay, that is the first one. The second one is very important, is what I call US estate tax exposure. Okay, so if something happens to you and you hold more than US $60,000 in US domicile assets, the US government can actually take up to 40% of that excess. Whereas for Ireland domicile ETFs, they are completely exempted. Now, I will be building my core around two big ideas. And the first idea is to get exposure to the S&P 500. So these are the 500 largest companies in the US, and it consists of companies that we are all very familiar with. For example, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Amazon. So these are quality businesses that are driving global growth and something that all of us are very, very familiar with. So that's the first one. The second one is actually to get exposure to the rest of the world. So this is what we call global diversification. So the whole idea of it is not to be 100% concentrated in just one country, even though most of the big companies come from the US. So let me show you the specific ETFs. So for S&P 500 exposure, there are three options that you can go with. The first one is CSPX. Okay, so when we look at the ETFs, one of the main consideration that we look at is this thing called the total expense ratio, or in short, we call it the TER. Okay, so you can see CSPX, the TER is about 0.07%. And in terms of the share price, one share of CSPX is about 600 USD. Now, there's other alternatives as well, which also mirrors the S&P 500, for example, VUAA, as well as SPYL. Now, don't be confused on all three. They own the same companies. The only difference is just the total expense ratio and how much is the share price of it. So you can see VUAA is like CSPX 0.07, whereas SPYL, it is much newer, but it has a much lower expense ratio of 0.03. So all three are Ireland domiciled and all three are accumulating, which means the dividends are auto reinvested. And all three also track the same index, the S&P 500. So just go with the one that suits the monthly amount that you're setting aside for investments. And for global exposure, I will go with VWRA. They've been around the longest, and VWRA actually tracks more than 500 companies. They actually track 3,700 companies across developed and emerging markets. So immediately you are automatically diversified and your risk is reduced as compared to investing in individual stocks. So the expense ratio is a bit higher at 0.22, and the share price of VWRA is roughly about $150. But this gives you the entire world in one ETF. So how do we put it all together? Now, option one is the simplest portfolio in the world, which is 100% VWRA. One ETF, the entire world, set and forget. So if you have no idea where to start investing and you just want someone to tell you, hey, where should I start? I just want to, at the very least, start rather than not doing anything. This is the option that suits you, right? If you want to start investing tonight and never think about allocation ever again, this is it. Okay, that's option one. Option two is for those of you who want to overweight the US slightly while still owning the rest of the world, right? So this can be a split of 70 to 30. So 70% CSPX or VUAA, so a little bit more overweight to the US side, and 30% VWRA. Now, the US has historically driven most of global market returns, and this option 2 portfolio leans into that strength whilst you keeping international diversification for your portfolio. And if you're asking me which is the best, I can tell you that both are actually valid because there is no perfect answer and it depends on your own individual risk. The portfolio that you actually stick with for the next 10 years is way more important than that perfect portfolio you abandon in the next year. Now, before we move on, I want to flag 4 mindset mistakes that I see almost every new investor make, and sometimes even experienced investor. Now, the first is this: panic selling on red days. For example, if during COVID back in 2020, or even most recently back in April 2025, or even this year 2026, when Trump did his US-Iran war, if you actually sold during then, you would have missed the entire recovery. Right? Like right now, the market is already at a new all-time high than before the war, right? And it will cost you a generation of years of compounding gone in a single emotional decision. The second one is chasing the hot tips. So like meme coins, options, and when you scroll social media, you see people sharing their screenshot of making fast money, right? So this is what you want to avoid. Okay, the casino will always win eventually. Number 3 is waiting for the right time or the best time to start. Because there is no such thing as the right time. There is no such thing as the best time. There is only such thing as a good time to start. Because time in the market will always beat timing the market. It always has and it always will. And the fourth is tinkering with your portfolio. Now, the good news is if you are investing in the ETFs, the VWRA, or in the US index, there is really quarterly rebalancing. So, in fact, there is no need for you to tinker with your portfolio every quarter. For example, adjusting allocation, switching ETFs, or rotating sectors. And you might end up underperforming your own portfolio rather than just holding still from what you have. Now, these four mistakes are not just theoretical because I've personally seen people making these mistakes time and time again. And if you avoid them, you will be already ahead of 90% of retail investors. Now, let's talk about brokers because there's so many brokerage out nowadays. And if you ask me, if you're buying Ireland domicile ETFs, just go with interactive brokers, or in short, IBKR. So this is the gold standard for global investing. Now, some main reasons why interactive brokers. Number one is this has access to the London Stock Exchange. So immediate direct access to where the ETFs are listed. Number two, the fees they have are some of the lowest in the world. And in addition to it, you can actually buy fractional shares. That means the minimum is not one share. You can actually buy like 0.1, 0.2, or zero point 0.3 shares. Number three, in terms of their conversion, the foreign exchange conversion from Singapore dollars to USD, it is super cheap, right? It is like almost as what you see in Google, right? And very, very good rates that we see in interactive brokers. Okay, and the last one is global reach. Now, it allows you to buy ETFs and stocks from over 150 markets. So this also factors in if in future you are investing in other markets. So now you have formed your core satellite portfolio and you know what brokerage that you can go for. The next is actually the most important thing, and is the most important habit of all, which is once your portfolio is built, the only thing that matters is consistency. And by consistency, we mean dollar cost average. Okay, so what do we do? What does dollar cost averaging means? It means that regardless of how the market performs, whether it is going up, whether it is going down, you just buy and invest every single month. That means if the market crash, you buy, right? Diligently every single month. If the market is at all-time high, you buy as well, right? War in the Middle East, geopolitical chaos, you buy as well. So one quick tip on frequency. If you are planning to dollar cost average more than, let's say, 500 USD per month, doing it every single month is fine. However, if your monthly amount that you set aside is lesser than that, right? That means you are planning to do maybe $100 to $200, planning out to be every 2 to 3 months instead, so you're not eaten up by transaction fees. And over 10 years, when you dollar cost average into broad market ETFs, it has built more wealth for everyday investor than any stock picking strategy ever has. It is boring, it is slow, but it is very effective. And here is why DCA actually works. When you look at the numbers, here is what $500 a month for 30 years actually look like. Now, on the first year, you might see that there isn't anything. But the key thing is not in the first few years. The key thing is in the next few years as you continue to build up your portfolio. So the blue color bar that you see is the amount that you put in, and the orange bar that you see is what compounding gives you. So in the longer term, you'll start to see the graph started to go up vertically as close as possible. And by year 30, right, assuming if you put $500 every month for the next 30 years, in total, how much you're putting in? A total of 180K. But if you do it diligently, you dollar cost average, you will be a millionaire. You will be sitting at over 1.1 million returns. And we are just talking about a 10% historical S&P 500 returns. And this is the magic of compounding. This is the magic of dollar cost averaging, of doing the boring thing long enough. Because at this conservative return, right, this is how much you'll be getting. You'll be a millionaire. And even if, let's say, you reduce the amount, like not 10%, maybe even 8%, the same 180K, right, will actually return 745K. Okay, so this is how you want to do it, because either way you go about doing it, if you DCA over the long run consistently, it will be life-changing for you. Now, before you celebrate, here is what's going to happen the moment you start, right? Because when you start this journey, you'll be receiving some questions from your friends. And if you're not ready with answers, I can tell you that you will start to second guess yourself, right? So here are some frequently asked questions that you might come across. The first one is, why not wait for the next market crash to buy? Now, my answer to it is time in the market beats timing it. There are studies that are actually being done to show that unlucky investor, if let's say you even bought at the all-time high of the market every single year, you would still be making money in the long term. The second question is this: isn't it too late to buy now that the market has run up? Now, let me share with you that you want the market to keep hitting new all-time highs, because if the market is not hitting new all-time highs, it means the economy is not doing well. And the market has hit several all-time highs, in fact, thousands of times. And every time it hit the new all-time high, it was someone saying that it was too late. And they were wrong. Okay. And the third question is, why so boring, right? There are so many other investments that you can do, like my friends make 5x on a meme coin. Now, let me tell you that this is survivorship bias, because for every winner that you see, 9 lost, right? And did not say anything. Because if you lose, who will want to share that they lose, right? You will only see people who win continuously sharing. And that itself is a biased view that you are seeing. So save that slide that you see, screenshot it, because I can tell you that within 6 months or 1 year, there will be someone that will be asking you that question, or you will come across it online as well. And the better that you can understand them, the better that you can internalize it into your investment framework, the longer you will stay invested and stay consistent. And by this point, you will have the full framework to actually start investing and crafting your own portfolio in 2026. What ETFs to go with, what brokerage to go, how to DCA, what to avoid, and how to handle pressure, right? But I can tell you that that is the easy part, right? Because anyone can do it in a single day, in a few hours. The hardest part is actually holding it for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Now, this is what Warren Buffett said in his latest AGM just last week, right? He said that in his 60 years of investing, only about 5 of them were really juicy. Just 5 of them, right? The greatest investor of all time is telling us this, that wealth building happens during the most boring years, and the years where there's nothing much to do, right? The years where nothing exciting is happening, but you keep showing up anyway, that you keep being consistent, right? The portfolio that I walk you through is not the smartest portfolio in the world, but it is something better. It is a very, very good starting point for any one of you starting out, and it's the one that you can actually hold. And down the road, right? Remember, as you gain more experience, you can adjust and move and build up your satellite portfolio from there. That's all I have for you for today's video. I hope that it has helped you to figure out how to craft your first investment portfolio in 2026. So if you enjoy this kind of video, be sure to drop that like and subscribe down below. It will really help me to create more of such content for you. And I'll see you in the next one.